So I know that it's an issue, but it seems like every single day on television I'm talking about race, and it's because of the news cycle, it's in the news, but sometimes I get so tired of talking about it. I want to just go, this is over, can we move on?
And if you talk about it, it exists.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like it exists and we refuse to talk about it, but making it a bigger issue than it needs to be is a problem.
Hello you guys, welcome to my channel All Things Melisha, where I discuss a lot about what's going on in the political world, but also topics that pertain to everyday life in general. If you are subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you guys. If you are new to my channel, welcome. So today, you guys, I just wanted to come on real quick and discuss racism. Now, this is a word that has been used in politics endlessly. Okay, and so I wanted to talk about it because being a Black American, I came up with grandparents. My grandfather was born in 28, my grandmother in 1928, my grandmother in 1934. So they both came up prior to the Civil Rights Movement. So they came up when the country was still segregated, where Black people were not allowed to eat in the same restaurants as whites. They didn't go to the same school as whites, couldn't drink from the same water fountain as whites, and they weren't even allowed to vote at that time. So I would hear my grandfather tell me stories of his experience dealing with prejudice and racism. And so it kind of can give you this mindset to become prejudiced yourself. And then when you see the media and you go out in the world and you see how things are, you know, we all kind of have stereotypes, race-related stereotypes that's put out in the media. And so you have this, you know, notion to kind of have prejudices regarding each other. And so I was one of those ones. I watch Roots all the time. And I still watch Roots to this day because it has a lot of good lessons in it. But movies like Rosewood and Mississippi Burning would have us burning. I mean, we would really be upset just to think about the injustices that we as a people had to experience in this country, or that our ancestors rather had to experience. So, but when I got older, I changed my stance on it. You know, I never forget, I took a government class and my professor said that as long as I can keep him calling him a nigger and keep him calling him a cracker and keep him calling him a wetback, I can continue to control the strings. So those words always stuck with me, and that's when I came to understand that racism is used as a means to divide us, divide and conquer, the oldest trick of the enemy. So I'm going to come on here real quick and share a guy that came up prior to the Civil Rights era by the name of Fred Hampton. And I'm just going to show you a little clip starting off of what he was all about.
The state of Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton. We work with anybody and form coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You've got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pigs. The people are going to have to stand up against the pigs. That's what the Panthers are doing. That's what the Panthers are doing all over the world. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism. And we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. If we don't hate the motherfucking white people, we hate the oppressor, whether he be white, black, brown, or yellow.
So Fred Hampton, you guys, is a very young guy. He was born in 1948, which was years before the Civil Rights movement. So he came up in that time where the country was still segregated. And he was a part of an organization called the Black Panther Party. Now, the Black Panther Party was founded in 1966 by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, and it was founded in Oakland, California. Then they ended up expanding out into different parts of the country. Now, initially, this party was founded to help protect Black communities from police brutality, but then it branched out into other things. And one of the most popular things was when they started a program to feed children breakfast before school. And so public schools to this day have adapted that from the Black Panther Party movement. where they now feed children breakfast before school. So that was just one of the many positive things about this party. I don't know if it was an intimidating party because of the name Black Panther during that time. And they also, used arms as a means of protection. They would walk around and exercise their right to carry in public. And so this had a lot of people, white people specifically during that time, alarmed and threatened. And so the FBI and the Chicago Police Department, which was where Fred Hampton was from, reportedly was keeping tabs on him. But one thing I liked about what he said in that video is that they're not against white people. They're against the oppressor, no matter what color that person is. And that's one thing I came to learn because, if you grow up with our history lessons, you're really miseducated. You're not educated at all regarding race. And that's the reason, that's the way that the system really wants it, because that's how they're able to control us. Divide and conquer. Because if we knew true history, we would know that there were black people that sold off black people into slavery, and that there were white people called abolitionists that actually helped slaves become free. So it wasn't specifically about color. Okay, this was a system thing. It was a reason for this, from the beginning. So talking about racism, it's a very touchy subject for a lot of people, even to this day. But like I said, as I'm becoming older, I'm beginning to understand more and more how this has been used as a means to keep us from coming together. Okay, because it's really not about racism, like he said. It's about the oppressed and the oppressor. Let's check out some more of what he had to say.
What makes them mad about that? They're constantly bothering the people. Anybody that's out there for the protection of the people happens to be in direct conflict with them. What makes them mad about it? What makes them mad about it is that they have black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descents. They had them caught up in movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think you fight fire with fire best. We think you fight fire with water best. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. We stood up and said we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state's attorneys like this and reactionary state's attorneys like Hanrahan with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions with all of us people to get together and have an international proletarian revolution. Right on. Right on. And that's saying all power to the people. Right on. That's saying that no matter what color you are, there's only two classes. And that's saying there's a class over here and there's a class over there. And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back, because this is lower, this is upper. This is the oppressed, this is the oppressor. This is the exploited, this is the exploiter. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people. I'm Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly and I hate Indians. So we fight amongst each other. And
we fighting amongst each other. And we're all in the same boat, getting screwed over as a taxpayer if you're a worker. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have the lower class, the middle class, the upper class. And of course, if you're lower class, then you're getting benefits for welfare or whatever. If you're upper class, you're the ones that's paying off lawmakers and stuff to get, tax write-offs and stuff. If you're in the middle class, you're the ones pretty much being squeezed. And that's the way that the system has been set up. And I like how he said it's pretty much not about color. It's about class. But color has been used to keep us all divided, even though we're all being gamed by the same system. Now, yes, black people did have it hard, and we did go through slavery, and we have a whole lot of catching up to do economically, because there was a lot of systematic discrimination economically and things like that with us. So that's not to be minimized. However, it has become more and more apparent by the day that this is something that has been used to keep us pitted against each other, because it's really about the 1% of the world that they say that owns over half of the world's wealth versus the 99% of the world, who's the one that creates all of the world's wealth. So you guys, he said another thing. He said anybody that's for the protection of the people happens to be in direct conflict with them. Okay, and that's a major statement right there, because anybody that tends to try to help people or try to create real change always comes in direct conflict with the system, because it's like we got a system set up over here and we're profiting from this system. We profit from your poverty. We profit from y'all being divided. We profit from chaos and wars. We profit from this. So anybody that tries to step up and protect people from that becomes a direct threat to this system. And you can look at history, like I've said time and time again, Gaddafi, Martin Luther King, JFK, even him, Fred Hampton, people that stood for real change, to make a real change in people's lives, was a direct threat to the system. So, you know, racism, I watching Roots, you guys, one of my favorite scenes of Roots was when, at the beginning, the guy, I can't think of his name, but it was Kunta Kinte's father when Kunta Kinte was an infant. And he took his child and held him up, you know, up, and I'm gonna show you the clip of that. Let me just go ahead and just show you that clip, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think about it.
Yourself.
I remember thinking to myself, if I ever have a child, I was going to do the same thing. And that's where it begins, you guys. It begins at home, okay? As you saw, if you watched the movie Roots, when he took Kunta Kinte out and held him up as an infant and told him, behold, the only thing greater than yourself, which was God, the supreme being. And, you know, as Kunta Kinte got older and when he had his daughter, he took her out as an infant and did the same thing. So I remember hearing some people express their upset and frustration regarding Black history being taken out of schools. And I was just thinking to myself, why are you dependent on a system that you say is racist to teach you about your history? Okay, it's our responsibility to teach the younger generation about our history. No one else's. And it begins at home. No one is superior, no one is inferior. You may have people that can do things better than others as far as physical attributes, or you may have people that are gifted with math or gifted with science and things like that more than others. But when it comes down to just being a human being, the only being that is superior is God. And that has to be taught at home. The parents' responsibility to instill that confidence and that knowledge at home. You know, I think I was just thinking, the scripture came to my mind that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Okay, and that's just not so much as fear as being scared, but the awareness that there is a being that's greater than us all as far as is humanly, fleshly form. And that's the beginning of wisdom, when you know that you yourself are not God, because you didn't have anything to do with being here. And so going back to Fred Hampton, you guys, if you look at him, you would think he was a lot older than what he was, but he was only 21 years old when he was assassinated by the Chicago police and the FBI. So I'm going to play a little clip of that, and then I'll come back and let you know my thoughts on that.
Years ago, and how new documents reveal more details about the FBI's role in the murder of the 21-year-old revolutionary. Fred Hampton was killed December 4th, 1969, when Chicago police raided his apartment and shot and killed him in his own bed. Black Panther leader Mark Clark was also killed by police in that raid. Authorities initially claimed the Panthers had opened fire on the police who were there to serve a search warrant for weapons. Evidence later emerged that told a very different story. The FBI, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and Chicago police had conspired to assassinate Fred Hampton. Now, several hundred pages of FBI memos.
So he was gunned down in his sleep in the middle of the night. Now, you heard the news clip that said they were coming to serve a search warrant. Who serves a search warrant in the middle of the night? So this was something that was conspired between the FBI reportedly and the Chicago police. And what's interesting is that he wasn't a threat as far as physical. He wasn't a terrorist, or one that had, like we have nowadays, people with these bomb threats and stuff like that. He wasn't going around terrorizing people. They weren't using violence. They were about never being the aggressor, but defending themselves if they were attacked. And so for him to be assassinated in the middle of the night, in his sleep, sleeping on the side reportedly of his pregnant fiance, okay, it lets you know that how serious this system is when it comes down to people that are about creating real change. Not this little illusion of a change like what Obama ran on. Yes, we can and change, but we really wasn't talking about doing anything that would help really benefit we the people. But like, say for instance, like even when you think about Jesus in the Bible, he wasn't doing anything that deserved, for him to deserve to be crucified. He was going around healing the sick, giving the blind sight, causing the deaf to hear. Okay, he was doing a lot of good for people, and the system could not have that because the system, like I said before, profits off of poverty, profits off of this misfortune of people. And so when you have someone that is really about creating true change for all people, then they become a threat to this system. And so that's when I learned overall racism is really something that is used and has been used and apparently will continue to be used to keep us divided until we as a people wake up and see that we have more in common than we do not. So that's my thoughts on that topic, you guys. Let me know what you think. I hope you have a great night. And Lord willing, I'll see you later.
So I know that it's an issue, but it seems like every single day on television I'm talking about race, and it's because of the news cycle. It's in the news, but sometimes I get so tired of talking about it. I want to just go, this is over. Can we move on?
And if you talk about it, it exists.
Right.
It's not like it exists and we refuse to talk about it, but making it a bigger issue than it needs to be is a problem we have.
So I understand you recently had a birthday. You're 27?
No. Got that on 37.
37.